I mean, ask any family that has more than a couple kids, and you can say, do you have one universal thing that works all the time for all of the kids exactly? And the answer is no.
This is the Truth Pop Podcast with Jake and Kathy, a Catholic take on faith and culture. Be sure to subscribe.
Welcome to another episode of the Truth Pop Podcast. I'm Kathy.
And I'm Jake.
And we are giving you a Catholic take on faith and culture. We are a married couple helping you to live out your faith in modern day society.
Giving you a great conversation that we had with Chris and Linda Padgett. They're a Catholic married couple. They're so passionate about helping you to build up your marriage for Christ. And you can check out their website. It's chrisandlindapadgett.com. They have a podcast launching soon called The Chris and Linda Show. So we encourage you to check that out and subscribe. Check out all they have to offer again on their website, chrisandlindapadgett.com.
So let's get back to the conversation with them where we're talking about how to balance being married and being a parent.
So yeah, as a family, it's a seasonal thing when it comes to the family, but throughout the years, now we hold a position when it comes to balancing being parents and being spouses, right? How do you balance that, right? That's what you're asking. And so I think I think it's a very unpopular opinion that we have. And it was for us, it was a decision we made because out of survival. Chris, all these years, Chris has been traveling. He'd be gone most weekends out of an entire year at easily 40 weekends, easily out of an entire year. And I'm dealing with the kids that whole weekend. And so like it was impossible for me to be in every place that a kid wanted to be. We had to restrict their involvement. And so our kids it was once they got old enough, middle school, high school, usually that's when sports started. We didn't start our kids in soccer at 5 years old. And we never, ever did the thing where, okay, Chris ran and took these kids to this, then I took these kids here and we would meet up here and, and that's what we see. This is what I see all the time in couples that they're so busy. I have clients as a counselor. I have clients that sit across from me and to listen them listing their day of all the things they're going to. I'm like, when do you have time with your spouse? Yeah. Right. But that's normal. That's expected that we need to pour our lives. We have these kids for the short amount of time and everything needs to be consumed with that. We disagree with that. That we tell our kids that our relationship is priority. It is the most important, other than our relationship with God, our marriage is the most important relationship in the family, because without it, the family collapses. Right. And so I looked at kids, you know what, if you end up being a pro ball player, awesome. They're running ragged. That's the thing. They're running ragged, doing this, trying to be the perfect parents, giving their kids every experience they can possibly have. And we just said, you know what, younger kids, you're going to go with us to the older kids' soccer game. And we're going to be a family cheering on this kid as a soccer game. I'm not taking you to dance and then running to the soccer game. It is all of us are doing that. I would take dinner to the soccer game, and as the younger ones, and I don't know, again, it's very imperfect. We're not saying this is a perfect way to do it, but for us, I think that is how we manage to maintain our sanity for one thing. Yeah. And the priority of our marriage over running ragged as parents.
They say it takes a village to raise a child. So what resources have helped you as you have been raising your children? Has there been anything that you've turned to that has helped you?
We have had some really negative experiences with a village. And I think what we realized is that as long as we're the chief input in our kids' lives, then that's great. So, because there are places that they're going to go where the adults are not holding to the same things that we're holding to. This opens a can of worms, because in one part, we don't believe there's two types of kind of parenting. I feel like there's offensive and defensive. You kind of got to do a little bit of both, but some people are usually extremes in one or the other. So on the one hand, they're there's this defensive where they don't want their kids to be involved in anything because they're afraid they're going to be subjected to all sorts of moral dilemmas, and absolutely will be the case. So that's why offensive parenting is really important. You have to be aware, ask questions. What are they watching? Watch it with them. See if there's a way for you to kind of talk about some stuff that's difficult. We have a really interesting and awesome relationship with our kids in that they can talk to us about anything. And we have real conversations at any moment. That doesn't happen accidentally. You got to really do that from when they're little on. But this idea of a village raising the kids. So we've tried our hand at looking at some of the parenting books and parenting plans. And honestly, this is the problem with parenting books, is that they work a little bit some of the time. But what we want, people want the universal, here's the structure to put it in place, and now everything's going to be great because A plus B is supposed to be C. That does not work. That might work for the person's kid who wrote the book, but it doesn't always work for all the kids. So I can say, yeah, because we did the daily mass thing for a long time when we lived in Ohio, especially. Not everybody's able and capable of doing that. This is huge. Now we have the parish village who's helping to raise our kids. The truth is, that's an impossible thing for certain families to implement. So I guess ultimately at the end of the day, we sift through a truckload of content, and then we pick and choose little nuggets, and it might be the smallest little thing, and we'll take that and we use it. It's like we're building our own curriculum, and that's what works for us.
But I mean, honestly, I think, through the years, we've had good friends that we could, especially older people who have kids older than us, that we could ask, hey, is this normal? What should we do about that? And the best advice we always got was, relax. It's going to be okay. But honestly, I don't know if young couples or young people want to hear that. They want to, like you said, they want to know the A plus B. This idea of that Pinterest perfect, Instagram perfect image, that we are so quick to go there for resources. But it's not, it may be good stuff there, but it's, like Chris was saying, it's not always maybe applicable to you and your situation. So having somebody who knows you and to be able to give you advice is the best resource. And then one thing I did, because I worry so much about my kids. I want, again, to me, the most important thing for my kids is their eternal salvation. Even when they were so young, I just felt so incapable of being all that they need. And I feel that way still. I'm still not capable of being all my kids need. And so I would put them down to bed when I would, up in the middle of the night feeding them. I'd always pray. My prayer was always, Lord, make up in them what is lacking in me, that he makes up what I am not capable of doing. But one resource I tapped into was I contacted any religious order that had perpetual adoration. Wow. And I signed up for their whatever, like I joined their order and got a little card and sent in a prayer request that I paid the money, and they're going to pray perpetually for most of them were like 15 years. And so I sent in the money. I gave my kid's name. I have the card. I put it in their baby box, and I had to redo it after a certain point. So I just feel like there's other people praying nonstop for my kids besides me, those kind of resources, that the other earthly ones, those are the ones that can make the big difference. And I love that bumper sticker. Prayer is our greatest weapon against evil, and so having other people praying for your kids is not a bad resource.
I think that's the village that we want. A lot of this stuff is very fad driven. So for example, when we were young and had our first child, the big thing was what's called the family bed. This was a big idea where you don't let your baby be in another room. So you let them sleep in the same bed as you. There's a million reasons why that wasn't going to work out for us. And so then we thought, well, we have a little bassinet, which is almost like this little tiny crib thing that you could put on the almost even on the bed if you wanted, or on the ground next to your bed. But then every single like chirp and slurp and peep would keep Linda up all night, so she was never going to function as a human being. And so, and then there was the big debate: do you let the baby cry or not cry? And that ebbs and flows, it changes, and it comes back around all of the time. And at some point, what we realize is that, okay, you know what, these things we can kind of figure out on our own and what works for us, because the baby's going to let you know what's kind of going on. The other part, there's a fad right now where people are really interested in influencers who basically have lots of followers. They look really good and they seem like they got everything together, but honestly, they don't even have any kids, or they maybe have a couple kids. And the truth is that you can have one kid figure it out and the next kid comes out completely different and you're pulling your hair out. I mean, it is so insane. I mean, ask any family that has more than a couple kids, and you can say, do you have one universal thing that works all the time for all of the kids exactly? And the answer is no.
I think another good resource that will benefit a marriage and your parenting skills is the effort of a person to learn about who they are. So the effort you put into understanding yourself, whether it's, I think of even attachment styles, understanding what your attachment style is, why you are the way you are, why do you respond a certain way to certain things, will help you be a better spouse and help you be a better parent, because you understand instead of reacting. So learning the psychology of parenting, okay, sure, but I think the time spent is very well spent in understanding your own psychology, understanding who you are, why you act the way you are. And then apply that even spiritually. Have the Lord, invite the Lord into that space. That this is who I am, why I am the way I am. Lord, can come into that space and heal that and make me make me the better parent, a better spouse, right? And so I think this is a good resource that maybe we came at that much later. It's definitely more common today to have that understanding of, oh, that's why I react so harshly to that.
That's so interesting because, Kathy and I, like when we first got married, we thought, oh, we have the same exact temperament blend. But then as time has gone on, we're like, no, I think it is a little different. So that's actually helped us to like appreciate the minor differences between us. And so I think that like God made us all unique. He made us all different. And so we can celebrate that. But like you said, just the self-awareness can lead to the benefit of other people too. What do you plan then for your podcast, The Chris and Linda Show? What can people expect and where can they find it?
So if you go to chrisandlindapadgett.com, obviously the website there will take you to a number of different things. You can explore things for your diocese and for you individually. There's also connected to that a Teachable account, which basically has free videos and also paywall for other videos. But what we're doing, launching the Chris and Linda Show, this is really kind of almost universally available free for everyone. It will be in the podcast format, but also YouTube. So on YouTube, if you go Chris and Linda Padgett, that comes up. And there's really only a couple things there that are commercials. Those are silly. And yes, there will be a comedic blend inside to things because Linda can't stop making jokes. But
it's all her, I'm sure. That's all her.
Oh my gosh, nonstop. Well, but the content is very rich, and hopefully we'll be able to connect some PDF things to it and some other resource possibilities to it. There's going to eventually even be a Patreon connected to it where people can get extra content and kind of support the mission. And really, the truth is, this is being looked at more as a mission. We want more people to be involved in what we're doing. This is the great crisis, is marriages. We've talked a lot about a crisis in the priesthood and in the church, but we're going to solve our priesthood crisis by holy marriages. That's how we solve that. And that's how we change our society and our culture and our world. But marriages right now are falling apart, period, whether you're Christian or secular. And so we're really doing a lot of work. We do all the pre-Canas for Syracuse and all the pre-Canas for Newark, New Jersey. We do pre-Cana work. I went to Australia, kind of walked through some stuff that we were doing with them there. And so internationally, nationally, the content is going up. It's going to help people pre-marriage, during marriage, and then long haul marriage. So 50 60 years of marriage, that kind of stuff. And the content, I mean, it's always going to have stories connected to it and a little bit of comedic thing, but there's huge interactive possibilities where people can be a part of. We want to see something on this. Can you address this? And that's really a big part of what we're trying to hopefully launch here in the beginning of August 2024.
That's
For sure.
awesome.
I do love the mission. I do love that that is what it is, that the idea to inspire, not to say do XYZ and you're gonna have a perfect marriage just like us. Right. But to inspire, this is what a real marriage can look like.
Yeah.
But you can have what God wants for your marriage. So I think for us, we're bringing to the table our experience, both in marriage but and parenting, but primarily marriage. We want this to focus primarily on marriage. Every conversation will bring in theology. Chris has his STL, his master's in theology. He's very well studied, very well educated in theology. So he's going to talk about it. And I'm going to bring in the psychology with my degree. And so having that kind of balance there, along with experience and humor. So that's where the content's going to get deep, but then we keep it light and fun at the same time. So I think that's the goal. I think that's what we're shooting for. And I think we're doing it so far.
Yes.
It's called The Chris and Linda Show. Your website, chrisandlindapadgett.com. So encourage people to check out all the resources you have. Any final words of wisdom, humor, wit, anything you'd like to share?
I think what I want to leave you with is this. The world talks a lot about relationships. They're very confused about relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of driven oftentimes with a kind of selfish tendencies. And they have an idealized version of what they think marriage and family is going to look like. And I just want you to know that if you give yourself to the Lord as a couple, then it is so much better than you've ever thought or imagined. And that's what we really believe, is that marriage is definitely something that can be better than you thought or imagined, but it's also going to be harder than you've ever thought or imagined. And so if you're willing to let God in, then I think something miraculous happens. I think that we're just getting started. I mean, we've been married 33 plus years, but there's a part of me that feels like, well, we're just beginning. Like we're just getting to know each other more. And it's incredible. So, my encouragement to you is, if you're struggling in marriage, know that God wants you to have a better marriage than even you do. And he's not giving up on you, and you don't need to give up on you. And the truth is, yes, it takes two to tango. And if the one person's not, just know that Jesus is with you in that pain and that suffering. At the end of the day, we're reachable. So if you want to reach out to us at any time, you can. Chris and Linda Padgett at gmail.com. But we're grateful. Thank you guys for letting us be a part of your podcast. And thanks for asking us so many good questions.
Yeah. And Linda, any final thoughts?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think
Normally she's not allowed to speak.
Yeah, I thought you said it good. So I will say thank you for the opportunity.
This is the Truth Pop Podcast. Fill your faith.